Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's the kid, Jered Sanders, a.k.a. your resident minister, a.k.a. Mr. Hope is Dope, a.k.a. the preacher with a grill, keeping it real sometimes. And I'd like to welcome y'all to episode 13 of your Misfit Moments. You feel what I'm saying? So check it out. I'm tapping in with y'all weekly to give y'all a little sprinkle of what God gave me in hopes to edify, edjumicate, and encourage you on how to live the life of a misfit. Listen, the motto of the Misfits comes from Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Listen, I don't intend to be here before you long, and yeah, I know every preacher in America done probably said that plenty of times before, but I believe in the power of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and the key component that is often missed is that with all the Beatitudes and the blessed of those, kids were there too. It wasn't just 5,000 men, because if it was, I wonder why they abandoned their families. If it were 5,000 plus men and women, I would wonder why they left the babies with grandmama and them. So I think it's safe to say that there were kids too. Word? So check it. I'm going to be coming from Psalm chapter 139, verse 14, and it goes like this. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. This Misfit moment is going to be called Tell Me Something Good. All right? So check it out. Do you know that Christians tend to be some of the most insecure groups of people on the planet? I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy, don't you think? Especially if you realize that insecurity might just be the ultimate insult to God. Like, think about it. If I believe the lies of my insecurities, as if it's like I believe God didn't quite get it right when he put this calling on my life, there's this part of me sometimes that, likes to point out those things. And I see in myself imperfections. A lot of those imperfections sometimes try to convince me that that's who I am. That's how I should be identified. And sometimes on the real, I could be tricked into believing it, right? See, what's interesting is that God also sees all of my imperfections. As a matter of fact, he knows what they are better than I do. And he knows everything that's wrong with me and why it's wrong. Yet when God talks about who I am, he says things like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made in his image. I am sealed with his promise. Like, I am redeemed. I am his child, right? So in Matthew 4, the devil had no chance against Jesus when he tempted him with the lies in the desert. Even though Jesus was hungry, he still had no chance. Because when he tried to tempt him at the end of Matthew 3, when Jesus was baptized, he heard a simple affirmation from God. He said, this is my son whom I love, and with him I am well pleased. Check. Jesus really, understood that. He peeped that, y'all. And before his ministry even started, God showed that he loved him and was pleased with him. So when it came to defeating the devil, Jesus didn't have to pull his strength from anywhere else but himself, right? He didn't have to draw his strength from his own opinion of himself or from the opinion of other people around him. He drew his strength from God. The reality is that God speaks the same word over us each and every day. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are chosen. We just got to be willing to sit still sometimes and hear it. See, if we push aside the lies that go on in our minds, the doubts, the insecurities, and we focus on these words that God says, I am, like, we don't got to live up to anybody else's expectation of us. We don't even got to live up to our own expectations of ourselves. And that's what makes this the most dope of all. Instead, we get to just repeat back to us the things that God has already said about us. We are the head and not the tail. We are the lender and not the borrower. We are children of God. He calls us friend. We are more than conquerors. We are amazing vessels that God is using to do beautiful things in this world. So instead of worrying about all these things that go on in your mind and what other people tell you, I just challenge you to say this. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This ain't even for a particular age bracket. This is for anybody that always finds themselves finding like they have to minimize who they are or they're less important. Listen, God made you, and that's the most important part. And that's this Misfit moment. Again, that's how as misfits, we get to live this life banging this Jesus set, banging Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. That's my time. I'm out.